And I love what you're doing at KLIMB. It's just sexy and it's fun and it's really cool. I love brands, so yeah.
Thanks a lot. And do you think that this very first job is somehow helping you a little bit today?
Absolutely, it's relationships. And today I very proud to report that we are the largest fund investing purely in Africa. We're not a tourist VC.
Welcome to the KLIMB Podcast.
Thank you,
Thanks
Michael.
a lot, Keji, for coming in.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to do this episode with you because I noticed, like, just over WhatsApp, your energy and just the overall good vibes that you're going to share. So I'm quite excited about it.
Well, I hope I don't disappoint. But thank you for having me here. This is cool. And I love what you're doing at KLIMB. It's just sexy and it's fun and it's really cool. I love brands, so yeah.
Thanks a lot. Well, I do have a lot of different questions. The first one probably for me, and I'm going to switch a little bit to the ones I sent you.
Okay.
I love to start with this one is, what was like your very first job? Like even the one that is not linked to what you're doing today.
My very first job, unsurprisingly, was working in a shoe store. Okay. That was like my first paid job. I had a lot of random jobs before then, as in, jobs that were kind of newspaper rounds, babysitting, but like my first paid job was working in a shoe store because I love shoes and I love fashion, and my parents made it very clear that they weren't going to give me any more pocket money to spend on shoes. So I thought, well, if I get a job in a shoe store, then I can get lots of discounts and I can have lots of shoes. So yeah, that was my very first job.
Okay. And do you think that this very first job is somehow helping you a little bit today? Like, did you learn something that is core and that has followed you like throughout your career, even
Absolutely.
if it's something small?
Absolutely, it's relationships and just making people feel comfortable. Because I think the thing about buying shoes is it wasn't like a glamorous shoe store. I'm not talking Louis Vuitton or anything like that. But people come in with really clear expectations of what they want, and you don't always have the exact shoe that matches what they want. So it's really about listening to the things that they're saying, but the things that they're not saying. And that's true in the work I do now. And so, I would say that I still have bits of that I take with me into what I do today.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, my very first job was actually working at Decathlon. I don't know if you know
yes,
Decathlon.
yes.
Yeah. So I was working at a salesman there in the collective sports area. Okay. So football, rugby, handball, basketball and stuff. And yeah, pretty much the same thing. I think this is the first time I learned how to just build connection with people I don't know and just trying to understand their needs and trying to just, work out a solution for them. And it's just pretty much just the base of every business. Just people, they come in, they have a problem, and I'm trying to find a solution. Yeah, exactly.
Also, I think it's you're trying to get people to part with their cash, right? So I think there's a lot of psychology in there too. And I think everybody should work in sales at some point because it's not glamorous. It's very humbling, but it'll teach you a ton about yourself and about people. So
yeah, definitely.
I love that we have this in common. Look at this. How fun.
And then, of course, when I looked at your LinkedIn, you're not doing anymore like selling shoes today. And you worked in a ton of different companies, mostly from what I understood in the VC ecosystem. And the first question probably is, even for me, even if I know about investment firms, private equity, venture capital, I don't even know what's the difference between all of that. I get it, like it's the same area, but if you can just explain to me, like what is a venture capital, very simply.
Whoa, okay. Venture capital is essentially an industry whereby you have two sides of the coin. You have founders who are building game-changing, life-changing companies. And then you have investors who are investing money into these founders, into their companies for them to scale. And the third piece of it is that you have then limited partners who are the investors above the investors. So it's their capital that we're deploying into the startups and scale-ups that we back.
Okay. And so what was your role in this industry since the very beginning? Like, how did you start working in this industry?
I got into venture, fun story. I sat at home one day. I'd been an operator. I'd been on the operator side. And then one day, an email lands in my inbox from AngelList. And it was a role, head of network at a fund. It's like, I don't really know what that means. But I loved the job spec. It was essentially, we need someone to come in and think about how we add value to our portfolio companies. We need this person to be curious, and there's no playbook, and it's white space, and you basically have to figure it out. So you're essentially going to be CEO of this new little thing. It's kind of, and I don't know, the language in the job spec, it just totally spoke to me because I love creating things from scratch. I love when things don't exist. I love problem solving. So it's kind of like, and I get to just meet people all the time. Like, that's great. And that's how I got into it. And fun fact, the job spec was actually written, I later found out, by an incredible woman who I'd gone to prep school with when I was like 10, 11. And it was just crazy that, like, yeah, she was the one who wrote the spec that I guess changed my trajectory. And so I started in VC, I think the January 2017.
Okay.
Wild. And yeah, I joined this fund called Connect Ventures, and they're a single stage, so seed stage firm, investing from London across Europe, and they're very thesis driven. So they were backing product first founders who are obsessed with product and user experience. And yeah, I had the privilege, absolute privilege and joy of thinking about how we add value to those portfolio companies, how we help them scale, how we help them learn from each other, and essentially not have to reinvent the wheel. And so I did that for just over 4.5 years before I joined my current firm, Partech.
Okay. And did your role evolve from this job to what you're doing today? Is it different?
Yes and no. I mean, my role at Connect evolved over the time I was there, and I took on more things and a bit of the brand side of things as well, and the people ops side of things as well. At Partech, it's largely the same. It's just on a bigger scale because Partech is a multi-stage investment firm. So we invest right from seed through to growth. We're headquartered here in Paris. What a beautiful city. And yeah, we basically get to invest in, because we're a generalist firm, we invest in everything from, I don't know, SaaS to space across these 5 fund strategies. And what I think is really exciting about Partech is that all the fund strategies are independent of each other. So that's really our philosophy. We're independent in thought. We're independent thinkers. But what makes it extra special is, although those fund strategies are all independent of each other, there's this alliance in the platform, the collective intelligence that we get from, getting to experience all the different stages of company maturity. And so, although we're generalists in terms of the sectors we back, we are very much specialists in terms of the stage. So we deeply understand seed, we deeply understand the early venture stage, and we deeply understand growth.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And so today you're working as a CMO for Partech. I know what is a CMO in my SaaS, the SaaS customers that we have, but what is the role of a CMO for Partech?
Well, I'll start by saying it's definitely not what a CMO at a B2B SaaS or consumer company is doing, which is actually quite scary because there's no playbook to borrow from. Essentially, I wear multiple hats at Partech, and I'd say being a CMO there is essentially, I have one job, is to build compounding trust with the personas that we want to partner with. And essentially what that looks like is, I'll come back to that in what it looks like in a minute, but I'll talk a little bit about the personas. I mentioned earlier founders and LPs. And these are the two people, I guess, that we serve. And they are very sophisticated and very skeptical. So being a CMO at a fund isn't the same as, in a B2B SaaS or consumer marketing where you're, building funnels and ad campaigns and all that stuff. Like, you can't hack that. If you're trying to build trust that compounds over time, you basically have to come at it from a different perspective. And so what that means is I think we focus on sort of three key principles. Excuse me, I lost my words, which is always interesting. One is we're really curating and thinking of curation as a competitive advantage. And when I say curation, it's, you know, everything we put out, whether it's stories, whether it's reports, whatever the case may be, is essentially a belief statement. It's what we believe.
Okay.
So we tend to stay away from like trends and things like that because our investment teams are focused on the investing, rightly so. But instead, we love to surface and showcase the stories from the founders or the operators that are in our wider world. And the reason we focus on them is because that gives us the credibility to say we know what works or what doesn't because we're working with the people that are doing it. So that's the first one is really around curation. The second one is really around, and I love this term from this producer, Brian Eno, it's really around building scenius. And scenius, and not audience, right? And scenius is essentially like creating the spaces and the rooms where smart people want to convene and converge. And so our job is then to make sure that we're creating these and designing these experiences where the brightest, smartest founders, maybe under the radar ones and operators too, want to come and hang out with other smart, cool people. And then we could talk about that a little bit later. And then the third is really around, you know, we talked about B2B SaaS marketing, consumer marketing, where you're really thinking about, optimizing this quarter or this H1 or whatever. For us, it's the infinite game, right? Like the metric of success is really, did the founder we wanted come to us when they were ready to raise? And so it's really around, like, you know, sometimes we've been chatting with these founders, they've experienced our events, they've read our content, they've hung out with us for 2-3 years or whatever. And then when the time comes for them to decide, okay, I want to partner for the long haul, that's when we should hopefully be the call that they make. And so, yeah, I think those are the three main ways how like VC marketing differs a little bit from startup and scale up marketing.
Yeah, okay, I see. It's interesting because a lot of the three pillars that you shared are strategies when it comes to marketing in general that are a lot related to inbound content. In the end, you want people to you want to create stuff that at some point will spark something in your potential personas. But it's not like as a VC firm, you don't need to go out there and say, "Hey, do you want our funds?" You don't have any outbound strategies when it comes to marketing, of course. I mean, from what I understand, and so a lot of the things that you're saying are things that are also super long term, from what I understand. And so you have to think about stuff that you're going to be doing today, so that in 3 years potentially someone is going to be, "Oh, I had a good call with that person. I went to this event, it went well, and now I'm building my startup, and it makes sense to go with Partech."
That's exactly right. So it's this craziness where you're thinking about today, what do we want to, what belief statement do we want to put out there? You know, what kind of experience do we want to create and curate, things like that. But yeah, it's really, you won't know about it until later when they come to you. And that's exactly why I mean it's different, right? Because events aren't for lead gen or demand gen. They are purely relationship accelerators. Content is not for SEO purposes per se. It's really, you know, to show how you think, what you believe, and the like. I don't know, social is not about optimizing reach or anything like that. It's really about, like, you know, showcasing our portfolio, showcasing the kind of individuals that you would be in cahoots with, I guess, if you decided to partner with us. We're not really thinking about, you know, qualified leads per se. We're thinking about, did that founder remember us when the time came for them to make a decision of who they wanted to partner with, and same for LPs too. So yeah, it's a little bit different, and that's inspiration you can take from SaaS and consumer in particular, right? Because I think consumer marketing I find super interesting, and it's very brand led, which I'm very much a brand person, as I said earlier. So yeah, there's inspiration you can take from it, but it's a completely different sport, and I think understanding that from the outset is one of the hardest things. But once you get it, it's like, okay, you can just focus.
But I think this is the way. I mean, this is how I think you should be looking at building content, creating events, and overall, like as you said, focusing on the relationships that you build with your customers. And even for us, we're working with a lot of B2B SaaS customers. And a lot of the time, customers, they focus a little too much on the metrics that you see, like the reach, as you said, on social, the performance of their campaigns and stuff. And we forget to take a step back and just look at our brand and what do we want to just put out there, and does it make sense really? And taking the step back, I think it's super essential, because this is what makes your brand different on the market. And then also all your content that you're going to be putting out there is going to be super different and super unique, because you want to build that content not just for SEO or LLMs. You want to build that content because it makes sense for you, or because it tells a story, and because this is just like who you really are, as you said, like your core belief.
Yeah.
And this is something I think we tend to forget, because it's so easy to jump into conclusions, jump into, oh, I saw my SEMrush dashboard. I mean, it's saying that I need to invest in those keywords, but does it really make sense, like from a pure DNA of the company and stuff?
Yeah, and I think also the way I think about it is ultimately you're not trying to sell or serve sell to or serve everyone,
yeah.
right? And I think a lot of VCs, actually, marketing peers that I speak to, sometimes when I come out of those conversations, I think to myself, like, interesting that their investment teams are like, yes, all founders, all LPs, but it's like, that's actually not possible, right? Because you want your tribe to choose you. And for them to choose you, then they have to believe also in what your beliefs are too, to feel like, yeah, this is the person that, like, I like how they think. They think like me, or maybe not like think like me in a what's the word? In like a biased sense, but think like me of like, okay, I like their point of view and I like the way they're thinking about things, and I feel like, oh, they could challenge me and they could elevate my thinking. And so, yeah, I think a lot more time should be spent on thinking about how this content or whatever it is you're putting out, whether a podcast or written or whatever, how does this actually help the right people like self-select to want to be in our tribe, as opposed to trying to speak to everyone, in which case you're speaking to no one and they might as well just give up already.
Yeah, completely get it. And so you were mentioning branding, and it's important to you and important, I mean, of course, to your role today, I guess. When I look at Partech, I feel like this is a VC firm that I would like to work with for them, just like, because I love the branding. I love, like, just when I go on your website, it feels different from other VC firms,
Nice.
And
thank you.
I feel like this is also something that is lacking a lot in this investment financial ecosystem. We're tending to be a lot focusing towards this. It's serious, it's organized, it's structured. And so all the branding that we see out there, most of the time it's blue and white, and that's about it, I mean, there are also, of course, VC firms that invest, and especially when I look at some VC firms that we work with from the crypto ecosystem, they have super crazy branding sometimes.
It's so true.
But anyway, so I'm just wondering, how do you look at brand for Partech? I know that you guys rebranded not so long ago, a few years back already, but how do you see looking back at it, how do you see this investment in your branding? How do you a little bit like measure the ROI of it? Because it's super hard to measure the ROI of a rebranding.
Yes.
So that's the first question, and then I have other related questions.
Yes, you're right. So we did a refresh a couple of years ago, and that was awesome. How do we measure the ROI? Well, I mean, start from why did we do the refresh, right? And I think when I joined Partech, it's amazing when you're a new person, because you can basically, say things and ask questions, and everybody gives you a pass because you're like, well, I'm new, I don't know. And so I did like a listening tour with founders, with LPs, and with our team as well, and was trying to understand, like, what they thought about our brand identity and if they thought it was a fair representation of us. And the resounding feedback was that no, they did not think so. We had blue and white. Very corporate.
I didn't know.
no, this is good. No one should know. And yeah, what was clear to us was, the feedback was, well, your identity doesn't reflect what we know you to be. You're bold and you're risk takers and you're sharp and you're differentiated and you're independent thinkers and you're pioneering new things. And so it was kind of like, okay, we need an identity that really reflects that. And we did the work, and the ROI was threefold. One, I'll start with the team. There was such an excitement from the team. And if you imagine, I mentioned earlier, we have 5 fund strategies: a seed fund, a venture fund, an Africa fund, a growth fund, and a growth impact fund. So across the spectrum, you've got very different vibes, right? Like the seed fund, a bit edgier and, cooler, and the growth fund, a little bit, more put together, structured, sensible. But we needed an identity that could flow across those 5 strategies. So the ROI was like, chatting with the team, was hearing right from seed through to growth was, this is great. This really feels like us. It feels punchy. It feels fresh. It feels bold. So that was one. That was great, because if your team are excited, then you're excited. Essentially, that's a good starting point. The second one was from our founders. Them also saying like, kudos. We actually we can really tell people about Partech, because actually part of the challenge when I joined was I'd meet people in different ecosystems and they'd be like, oh, Partech has a growth fund. Partech has a seed fund. I thought you only did Africa. And so again, it was an opportunity to use our website essentially as our store window to let people know exactly where we invest, how the strategies work and the like. So ROI there was, again, clarity, having new founders that aren't in our portfolio that I would just meet, be like, oh, it's so cool that you guys invest from seed through to growth. That's really, really awesome. And tell me more about your Africa strategy. And so that was a second. And then the third, it was really obviously quantitative, looking at the website, seeing that people are spending more time on the website now. So I think before we did the refresh, roughly about 45 to 50 seconds was spent on the website, largely looking at the portfolio page and the team page. Now we have, on average, 1.5 minutes spent on the website, almost double the time, which is kind of cool. And of course, they're looking at the team and they're looking at the portfolio. But actually, the second highest page people spend time on is our fund strategy. So it shows that people wanted to really understand what we do, and now they have a place to help them do that. The web traffic is that too. And then I think the final piece is really, which just sounds really crazy, is the swag, the merch.
Okay. Being proud of just showing off.
Yes. And when we have some LPs being like, oh my God, can we please have your sweatshirt, or can we have this or that or whatever other merch we have? It's kind of crazy. It's like, wow, okay, that's cool. Like, because then again, they're self-selecting, right? If you're wearing that, walking through the streets of London, Paris, New York, wherever, you're basically like saying like, yeah, I'm part of this tribe. I associate with them, and I'm proud to show that. Yeah. So yeah, those are all the ways that I think we've kind of looked at the impact of that investment on our refresh. And I was super proud of the work. It's cool. Yeah.
So we need to do a merch swap. I'm gonna I'm gonna bring you a tote bag.
Okay.
And you give me something.
I'll bring you something else. Well, I'll look through our little atelier and see what we have and see what might work best for Michael. I used to be a stylist in another life, so I'll happily pick something that works for me.
Sounds good. And so I had other questions related to that. Yeah. And so you did this rebrand. You somehow understand how you measure the importance of it and the impact. And now it's been like, what, 3 years, 4 years?
2 years.
2 years.
We did it in 2023.
Okay. And so I'm just curious, like 2 years now later, do you feel like at some point you're going to be needing a new refresh? And how do you anticipate that need? Because maybe it's not the case for a VC firm, but for all of the B2B customers, every 2 years or 3 years, they're like, maybe we need a refresh, maybe we need something. And it's also because their market is changing. Somehow their product offering is changing. They released a ton of new features. They're not providing the same service as before, and they have a lot of different momentums. It's a little different, of course, because as a VC firm, you're not changing every 2 years like your strategy, or maybe you are. I don't know. So yeah, I'm just curious about this. Do you anticipate the need, or do you feel also that the work that you have done can last for a long time, which is also a good sign of how the branding was executed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the work that we've done can definitely serve us for the next maybe even 5 odd years. But it's also dependent on if we add new fund strategies. So watch this space, see what we do next. Because part of the reason why we had to do a refresh was because the last time one was done before my time, we, I think, only had 2 or 3 fund strategies then. And so as you add more to whatever it is that you're offering, then you have to think about like, how do you crisp up your value proposition and your positioning and the like. And so for us, I don't think that's going to change so much in the next couple of years. I mean, I hope not, because it took a lot of work to do that. But I think as a general rule, my thinking is usually you're doing a refresh every sort of 5-6 years, or a rebrand if you've completely pivoted from what you were doing before. So we have some portfolio companies who actually it's not a refresh they're doing, it's a complete rebrand because they're actually doing more, or they've pivoted to another audience, or they've added new bolts and nuts to what they were offering before. They're going into a new market, whatever the case may be. So I think there is a distinction there, and I think it is, you do have to spend a lot of time thinking about, like, are we doing a full rebrand, which has pros and cons, the cons largely being like you've banked a lot of equity in whatever you had before, and so if you're going to do a rebrand, it's usually going to be a name change or full pivot in that sense. Or is it a refresh, which is literally just like, refreshing what you had before. The core of who you are has remained the same, but you need tighter language around it and the like. So yeah, I think I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I have a tendency to do that.
And so it makes me think also of one other thing is, so you have a lot of companies in your portfolio.
Amazing ones, yes.
Yeah. And so as a CMO, because you're talking about marketing, but more for the fund, from what I understand, do you still have a say on the maybe just advising sometimes some of your companies on their marketing just approach or just also their branding? Is it also part of your job?
Not really. I mean, if they ask, some founders or teams will ask, like, oh, we're thinking about doing a rebrand, or we're thinking about like going into this new market, and I'm happy to be a think partner to them. But largely they just get on with it themselves. I think what I think of myself as is a node, essentially, and myself and my team is a node, so that if they're like, oh, we're thinking about this, the best thing we can do for them is connect them to another portfolio company that's just a step ahead, or is a couple of steps ahead, and that's part of that collective intelligence, right? It's not for me to give them the advice, but it's for me to figure out how to connect them with their peers who can help them learn what they need to learn, and also just give them a safe space to have a conversation and just like share the crazy ideas that they wouldn't necessarily bring to the board, and I think that's far more valuable than me sitting there giving them the advice.
Lead by example.
Well, exactly. And like I said,
someone that did it already.
Well, exactly. Someone that's done it already, someone who's literally walking a mile in your shoes, and someone who's a true peer, because there is still this, to some extent, it's not always the case, but there's still sometimes where you feel like, oh, there's this power dynamic. Like, do I want to tell my investor that I don't know what I'm doing on marketing? Is that going to make me look weak? Blah, blah, blah. Whereas if it's like, hey, speak to your peer, fully confidential, I'm not in there, I think that's the best thing we can do for them.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so, it's not me shirking, it's me trying to really do what's best for our portfolio.
Right. and so you mentioned your team. So how is your team today? Do you have different people? You mentioned also that you have different funds.
Yeah.
So does that mean that there is someone in representing each fund? And then I'm also curious about the different funds you mentioned, because you mentioned different stage of growth for each fund, and then there is the Africa fund, which is not a stage of growth; it's specific to a market. So I'm curious to understand, why did you decide to make it specific? So completely two different sessions. one about the team, and then we can talk about the Africa fund.
Okay, so my team, we actually support all the fund strategies globally, which is with a very lean team. So yes, we work very hard. We have a focus on PR and comms.
Okay.
So that's helping new portfolio companies with their press releases. And, we have relationships with journalists that they don't necessarily have. So we tap into that for their benefit. We have events, like I mentioned, we curate a lot of experiences. So we have an events function as well. And then we have our portfolio community. So we have like a community person as well who's helping, connect the dots with a portfolio. And so that's kind of how the team shakes out. And then I sit above all of that, kind of wearing 3 hats.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense.
All fronts, which is cool. And then we have amazing external people that we work with as well. So, like on our brand refresh, we work with a fantastic team at Koto. On our editorials, we work with a fantastic editor externally. So that's how we sort of bridge it with a lean team.
Makes sense. And now about this Africa fund, I'm curious.
So our Africa strategy is very close to my heart because I'm a Nigerian. And it's great to see that ecosystem really booming. That came about because one of the things that we like to think of ourselves as pioneers. So, our one of the founders of Partech, Philippe, he met Cyril and Tijan, the 2 partners that run it. And they just had this really strong conviction way before anyone was looking at that as that emerging market, that, Africa is a massive continent, and by, 2030, 2040 or whatever, 1 in however many people is going to be from the continent. And they really believed that, we were at an inflection point where there's a growing upward mobility. And so these individuals are going to be very tech savvy. They all have mobile phones, but they're very underserved. And so there came the idea like, well, what if we set up a fund that was investing across the continent, backing the future giants, and addressing sectors that are fundamentally broken across the continent, but if they can be fixed, would have massive, high impact, right? So that's like fintech, that's health tech, that's ed tech. And so, they thought, okay, why don't we try it? And today, I very proud to report that we are the largest fund investing purely in Africa. We're not a tourist VC. We have a dedicated team spread out across Africa, Nairobi, Lagos, Dakar, serving that market.
Okay, cool.
And it's very, very cool to see.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. You mentioned Nairobi, so a fun fact about me, not related at all to the podcast.
Oh, I love a fun fact. Tell me.
But so my father is from India.
Oh, okay.
And my mother is from Poland.
Okay.
Yeah, that's quite a mix. And my father grew up actually in the Comoros Islands.
Okay.
And so next to Madagascar.
Yeah.
And so from India, you have a lot of, I think it's the same wording, diaspora.
Yeah.
Diaspora. And so we have a lot of family in Kenya. And so I have my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, they all live in Nairobi.
No way.
Yeah.
Do you get to go often?
No, I have to go.
What?
Yeah, I went to India quite a few times. I went to Comoros Islands, but never to Kenya, so I have to go.
You have to go.
I'm gonna check see my family and see the one from Partech.
Yeah, well, we have an awesome team there. They would be more than happy to welcome you and have a cup of tea with you and
I have
introduce
to
you to
do
the
a safari, of course.
Absolutely.
In Kenya, so yeah.
I'm going to hold you to this. I'm going to check in with you, mid-26.
I think
Michael,
2026 is going to be the time.
What's happening?
I have to do it.
I'm manifesting this for you.
Yeah. I met with them a lot of times. But most of the time it was in France. They came to France a lot of the times. And last time was during my wedding a year ago. So,
muzzle.
So yeah.
Well, you won't regret it.
I'm sure. It's going to be cool.
I love that fun fact.
Yeah.
Fun fact, even.
Yeah, you can't tell when you look at my face. It's impossible.
But that's kind of a good thing, right? It's like I'm an international man of the world. You don't know where I'm from.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we covered a lot of the Partech stuff. Then I have, related to the team, I had one other question about also, you're not hiring like tens of people, but anyway, when you started to hire some people in your team or for next hire, what is something that you look for, like from a cultural perspective?
That is a great question. And ironically, I don't think it's changed much from when I was an operator to now. I think the things that I really optimize for is intellectual curiosity can you go deep on something and be interested in learning lots of new things? Because our roles are very generalist, right? Like we call it marketing in VC, but it's brand, it's community, it's very generalist. So I think intellectual curiosity is super, super important. An agency, like just to be able to try new things and crack on and go from there. I think also I like to use the old adage, I hire for attitude, not aptitude, because I think you can teach skills and they can be learned, but you can't teach that intellectual curiosity that I was talking about, right? Like you either have it or you don't. So you can't teach a growth mindset. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can develop your growth mindset, but you meet the people who just have it naturally.
Yeah.
And then above all, I guess, is this someone with like a good, sad as it sounds, sense of humor and fun.
Okay,
You're going to work at long hours. And ultimately, it's that question, like, would I want to be trapped in an airport for 8 hours with this person? And that is literally what I'm thinking when I'm interviewing people. I was like, like you're great. Technically, you can do all the things, but my God, your personality is a bit grating on me. And if I'm going to have to spend hours, and it's the same, right? And it's the interviewee or the prospective candidate should be thinking the same about me. Like, she's too high energy. I cannot deal with this. I cannot be trapped with her like every day, and her happiness is going to grate on me. In which case, self-select out of the process. But yeah, those are the things that I think over and over again I look for. And then I think humility is also really important because if you are trying new things, if you are exploring new ideas, wanting to test new initiatives, a lot of stuff's going to fail. So, you need to be humble enough to be like, okay, that didn't go well, but excited enough to be like, let's go again. Let's try something new. So I think, those are the things that I really look for.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And one related question from this one is, if you had to go back in time and give an advice to your younger self, what would you pretty much say?
So many things I would say. Don't buy those shoes. They did not work. No. I think, like, if I'm being honest, I think having been in this industry for, both operator and VC side for over, 10, 12 years or so, I think I've definitely suffered a lot from imposter syndrome, right? Because when I'm looking around the room, I'm a black woman sat around a table or in rooms where there's no one that looks like me, right? And, I'm in rooms where the other people that are in there are sort of beating the drum and beating their chest, like, I'm the smartest person. I know this, I know that. So then it would make me think like, oh, okay, well, I disagree with that. And I disagree instinctively because of X, Y, Z, but they're way smarter and, they must know what they're thinking. They must know what they're saying and I must be wrong. But what I've learned over the years is actually that's not often the case.
Yeah.
And so what I would say to my younger self is maybe just believe your own hype just a little bit. Like don't turn into a narcissistic megalomaniac kind of type, but don't always assume that you're the dumb one or they're smarter because of the fact that, they've been in these rooms for longer or whatever. I think, trust that your unconventional thinking and unconventional approach is just as relevant and your perspective matters just as much. If anything, it's really valuable to bring a different perspective so that you have that, diversity of thought. So that's what I would say.
I agree. I mean, I think everyone is fighting with the imposter syndrome at some point.
I know, right?
And there is this, I don't really recall like exactly the quote or something, but it's like when I'm scrolling on TikTok late at night, and at some point I had like TikTok with Barack Obama during an interview, and he was saying that at one moment he was sitting at a dinner table with like the world leaders, and so everyone is at their best in their category pretty much. And he was like, you realize that the people around you, they're not better than you. And even if they did like crazy studies or they're the world leaders of X countries or something, sometimes they're even like maybe there are some dumb people in the room as well, And you realize that, sometimes when you feel like you are surrounded by people just because of their status, you realize that it doesn't mean anything because you're also realizing that you're in the same room.
Yeah.
And so if you're in the same room, it means something.
That's so true. Can I ask you the same question back? What advice would you give your younger self?
I think when I was like in high school or something, I mean, this is also my take on generally on how I grew my maturity as a person. Is I realized that there were like phases in my life where I, at some point, from one day to the other, I became mature, like at another level. Like it's something that I realized.
Change.
And for instance, there was like this big step lap or something from the end of the high school to when I started in the college. At the end of the high school, I was like in this character of being fun, being just the guy that is like good at sport and not so good at school.
Okay.
And that was pretty much who I was, like my identity that I set for myself. And then when I went into college, I was like, wow, like nobody knows me now. And I don't have I can reinvent myself. And so I would say like pretty much the advice is don't be afraid to reinvent yourself as you grow up, because you're going to be changing at some point to a new job, and it's going to be the exact same status quo. Nobody knows you. So you don't have to come in with your backpack of everything that was big and heavy in your backpack. You can let stuff,
leave the baggage at the door.
Yeah, you can leave stuff at the door and you can come in and be whoever you are pretty much. And so the advice is pretty much this is, at some point, you're going to be stepping into it can be so many different things. It can be a different city, it can be a different job, it can be, I don't know, a new girlfriend or something. And you can come in and be the person that you want to be. And I think this is something that I'm realizing along the way. And it's so true, because when I started college, I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to be good at this specialty, which was like business and sports management. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the best at it. And I was like amongst the best, at school. Yeah. And I was like, all of a sudden I got like A+ and stuff. And I was like, okay, I can be smart, just this simple stuff.
I'm not just the jock.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
I love that. Yeah, you can always reinvent yourself. And I think that's a great philosophy to live by.
Yeah. Do you have like a favorite tool that you live every day you live with it?
Notion. And there's so many tools I love, but Notion is the one that springs to mind because I'm obsessed with this app and I've been a power user since day one, professionally and personally. And my family always take the piss out of me because I put everything on a Notion, all our holidays, all the experience, anything I design. And then when they send a note, like, what times? I'm like, check the effing Notion. And now it's a quote and they will quote it back to me, like, check the effing Notion. I'm like, yeah, so Notion.
I get it.
Love.
I get it. Well, that's one question related to work that I forgot to ask is like, as a CMO and generally when you take on more responsibility in your careers and stuff, what's a pro tip for selling projects or ideas internally?
Well, I think the pro tip is really communicating well. And that means starting with the why, bringing people along on the journey, assuming that they're never going to be as invested in it as you are because you've spent hours, days, months thinking about it. To know me is to know that is what I'm like. I'm thinking about work 24/7, not because I'm a workaholic, but because I love what I do. So when you think about that and you're trying to bring people along on the journey and get buy-in internally, don't go in assuming that they have thought of it as much as you have, because they haven't. They have their own jobs. So really thinking about, okay, how am I going to communicate this? What's the why are we doing this? Why does it even matter to you? How are we going to do it? What does it look like? When is it going to be done? It's, it's like literally 5 questions, but run it as a productize it essentially. And yeah, I'd say that's what I live by, and I would say that's what I would recommend.
Okay, makes sense. I'm just reminded something. I saw also on your LinkedIn profile that you lived in New York.
Yeah. Short
You
stint.
lived in London. Are you living in Paris or other cities? Did you live in other cities as well? And so anyway, the question behind it is like, I'm just wondering, how do you decide where's the place that you call home, and like, what's your advice about it?
Okay, to take all the questions in turn. Yes, I lived in New York, a very short stint, around 6 months or so, if that. Home is London. I'm a Londoner, born and raised. I'm a Nigerian, but I'm a Londoner, born and raised. London will always be home because all my formative memories are there. But I do love traveling to other cities. And right now, I split my time between Paris and London. So I do 1 week in Paris, 1 week in London. Eurostar is amazing. And then I hop to Berlin every so often because one of my team members sits in our Berlin office.
Okay, I see. So back to my questions. What if you were not doing what you're doing today? What would you do? It can be something completely different because, for instance, I already answered it in another podcast. For me, I'm going to be, at some point, I think, a sports photographer.
Oh, okay. That's neat.
I want to be on the NBA courts and like shooting
you just want free tickets to be a courtside seat. Yeah. Smart, by the way. Well, I mean, I'll start by saying I've had multiple careers. I mentioned that I was African, so I started off life as a lawyer and realized it was just, I think I was too sparkly for that profession and it was too conventional for me. Then I moved into fashion and PR and styling, which I loved, but wasn't cerebral enough. Then I joined an NGO, which was amazing, very mission-driven, family planning NGO, and then to tech startup. So I've already lived many lives. I think the thing that's left, which I dabbled in a couple of years ago with my sister, I'd be a founder. I'd be running a company, building something great that really, really makes the end user just think, how did I live before this product or solution came into my life? I think it's in my DNA. My father's an entrepreneur, and I've been running very tiny little businesses since I was a little girl, selling cakes, selling ice cream, selling whatever. So I think that's what I would be doing.
Is it going to be more like on the B2C side, probably? Do you feel?
Ironically, one would think it would be B2C. And I said that the company my sister and I had together was like a consumer business. But because I don't really love being on social all day, and if you're going to build a consumer business, you need to love social, right? It makes me think maybe not. And I love B2B products. I love B2B SaaS. I don't know, whatever it is, it's going to be product first with the user experience at the heart of it. And just a really slick, seamless experience that solves the problem that they came to us for.
Okay, makes sense.
I don't know if that's a cop-out. You're looking at me like, Keji, that was not. Well, that's all you're getting from me today, Michael.
You can do it, I'm sure. It's going to be 2026 soon. Is there like, at the beginning of each year, we have like, I don't know how to say that, even in French, like, what's the word like?
Resolutions.
Resolutions,
yes.
exactly.
What's it in French?
Resolution. That's why I've even forgot in France. And so, what were some resolutions you had at the beginning of this year? And so we're ending the year. Did you manage to accomplish them?
Well, I'm going to say something very controversial. Your resolution shouldn't start on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Because if you're starting on New Year's Day, you're already behind. So your resolutions should start about November the year before.
Okay.
So my biggest resolutions for this year, and I think some of them I did well, some I didn't. The three. One was really to focus, because I think in the role we have, this kind of role in this kind of world, there's a trillion things happening at once, and you can stretch yourself really thin. And, I love to solve problems. I love to be helpful. And so then you're like, yes, of course I can help you with that. Yes, let's launch this initiative. And then you end up like completely like tapped. So focus was a big one. I'd say I achieved maybe 70% of that. I definitely said no a lot more this year, and no is a full sentence, and it was kind of cool to express that. The second one was I'm a big tennis fan, and obviously living between Paris and London, I don't get to play as much tennis as I used to, and I used to play on my club team. So my resolution was, even if I'm not playing in the team anymore, I have to make sure I'm on court at least 4 times every week that I'm in London. And so I would say I did not hit 4 times a week. I hit 2 times a week, which is, so that's 50%
good.
there. Yeah. It was a stretch goal for anyway, that was ambitious. So that was the second one. And the final one was really just like spending time. This is going to sound crazy. I love products. I think I told you that. And as my job got busier, I've had less and less time to spend on the wonderful product hunt. I love product hunt because you get to discover new products and you get to geek out and play around with them. And obviously with the advent of AI, there's so many new things all the time. So that's the one that I've actually done the least on. I'd probably say I hit that about 20-25%. Okay. But also it wasn't my fault. It's just because like all the AI tools, I'm having to get deep in them and learn them. And I really hoped that I would be able to make it through this conversation without mentioning those 2 letters. But sadly, this is your fault. You brought me here.
I get it. I mean, at some point I had like the product and Chrome extension, and when you open a new tab, you have all the news. And I was like, every time I wanted to do this instead of, working, it's too much.
It's so addictive.
It's addictive. It's new stuff every day.
And it also like then informs your thinking. It's like, oh, wow, I could do this thing. Product Hunt is a shout out to the people that run that.
I agree.
What was your top resolution for 25?
I mean,
I'm putting you in the hot seat.
No, yeah. I mean, like everyone, but it's like the most conventional stuff to say, like focusing on health, focusing on, eating well and stuff. But this is the most, I mean, I did good at some point and then I did bad. I mean, it's where I'm juggling. But anyway, I think I had a big focus on, of course, building KLIMB this year. And I managed to build something that I'm quite proud of because we're 12 now, I think.
Nice.
And I think I started the year with also saying that I need to communicate about KLIMB a lot more. And I have never done like a podcast episode before. And I started the year like doing one with Steph Bowker.
Steph.
And so that was the first one. And now I've done like 15 of them. And
I must say, you've had, this is not in any way reflection as in why I'm here, but you've had incredible people on the podcast. I've geeked out on all the episodes.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
Massive kudos to you.
So, and so you're going to be part of them. So, I selected you precisely.
Smart.
So, no, I'm so happy with and the first thing is I'm so happy about it because it enabled me to meet like amazing people from different backgrounds, different industries. And I mean, I went to London so many times also to record episodes. And it just opened my mind on also the possibilities that you can achieve as someone personally fighting this imposter syndrome. I was in the same room of the people running brands at Revolut, Lovable, Notion.
Even. I know.
So it's quite crazy. And at some point, I wanted to be working for those companies. Like a lot of the people. At some point you might be like, if I can be like a designer at it or Revolut, that could be cool. And now I'm just interviewing the guy. So it's kind of crazy. And I'm gonna have also amazing other episode coming in. I have one that is going to be released in 2 weeks with Netflix.
Oh, cool.
One next week with Typeform.
Typeform.
Yeah, Typeform.
You asked me about one product and I said Notion, but Typeform I love. And I also love it because it's in Connect's portfolio. So I had the privilege of getting to know those founders there, but I love that product.
Yeah, it's super cool.
It's beautiful.
So that's amazing. I'm going to be doing one with the senior head of brand studio at Intercom, and they're doing a super great job, Intercom, these days at running their brand.
Yes.
Evolving their website.
Yes.
It's kind of crazy what they're doing. So, and also getting to record some episodes in San Francisco early 2026. So, that's kind of crazy. So overall, like the resolution of growing KLIMB has been like fully checked, and I'm so happy about it.
That's awesome.
So that was the big one. And then making sure that my wedding is strong and other stuff.
Happy wife, happy life, or
exactly.
so they say.
So I'm on track.
Well, kudos to you. That's really, really cool. And you should be really proud of yourself.
Thank you. One other question I have is there like a personal project that you have on the side that you you're working on that is making you also proud every day, or something that you want to achieve? Anything?
I mean, I have a couple of projects on the side. I think the one that I'm probably most proud of, okay, so actually I'm going to take a completely different track. One of the causes massively close to my heart is homelessness. And so I, volunteer at different like shelters and things like that. And a passion project on the side is really trying to get, so where I live in London, beautiful part of the city, there are a number of incredible bakeries there, and they throw out an insane amount of food every single day. And so we're trying to lobby to see how we can get those organizations to be willing to give the food that they're going to throw away to like the soup kitchen where we volunteer. So that's one. And then also trying to think about how we can help homeless folks find shelter especially over the winter periods, because a lot of shelters operate like during the day, not during the day, in the evenings, not during the day necessarily, but that means during the day they're just like outside, it's cold, they're not really able to do much. So I recently stumbled across, I met someone at an event who is also thinking about that, and so trying to figure out, okay, well, what happens during the day, and how can we actually like create spaces where they can come and learn and upskill and community, right? Like meet others. And my church is really great at that, so we're going to use them as inspiration. But that's something
nice.
I'm really proud of.
Did you think about reaching out to Too Good To Go for the first project?
Yes, Too Good To Go in London.
I think they have something in the UK.
No, we did not. I don't know why. I'm not fully I don't run the day-to-day, but I would love to know more. And can we chat offline? And can you share more that I can get in touch with them? Because that would be amazing. I think
I think this is the core of what they're doing.
Yeah, there's Too Good To Go. There's also is it Olio?
I don't
am
know
I mixing it up? Okay.
The market.
No, because I think there are two of them that I knew of, that I heard of. I don't actually know how they partner, but I would love, if you're listening out, people from Too Good To Go, would love to chat with you so that you can help us help those in need.
Nice. Sounds good. One last question. We didn't talk about AI during the whole thing, which is a good thing.
By design.
So we don't have to talk about how AI is going to change your life and stuff. I'm going to be asking the question the other way around. What is something that you're doing today that you would never like to let AI replace?
Building meaningful connections and relationships with humans, because ultimately I will end where I started, which is we're in the business of building brand in VC, right? Not marketing per se. And brand is all about compounding trust. And compounding trust comes from spending time with people over and over and over again, getting to know them deeply, and getting to know what makes them tick. And I think the whole relational part is something that just can't be replaced by AI. Humans like humans. Well, I hope so. And those who don't, well, they can self-select out of my world. But yeah, I think the relational part of it and building meaningful connections and authenticity and trust, that I don't think AI can do that just yet. I hope never.
Perfect. We can end on this quote.
Nice happy note to end on. This was so much fun,
Thanks
Michael.
A lot,
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. It was really nice to have you on. And so I'm really happy. I mean, I learned a ton of different things about you, of course, about what you're doing at Partech, about the different, strategies that you have, your take also on brand. It was quite interesting. Also a reminder for us to just look at also what is really meaningful and what is our belief pretty much when it comes to, telling stories and sharing content that is meaningful to personas and not just, looking at just metrics and stuff. We talked also about imposter syndrome. That was cool. And then some other stuff. So, yeah, very happy about the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. This was fun.